On that note, I want to bring in Scott Martin, Fox News contributor, a market watcher. All right, Scott, would this pressure on Google, all this talk about breaking them up, does this make you think twice about buying the stock?
Only if it drops, I would buy more, Stuart, because I don't think the breakup's going to happen. You know, I agree with the congressman. I mean, it needs to be looked at. But gosh, guys, I mean, what are we really breaking up here and why? I mean, because they have, what, 70% of the internet search, because the Nest thermometers are so good that we use in our homes, because of the phones that they have come out with, the Google Pixels that are pretty good. I mean, that's the question here. I mean, what really are we trying to break up? Because last time I checked, and I know this is one thing that we've got to think about when you think about all these crazy tech companies that are out there is we use Google by choice. And if you don't like what you're seeing on the search results and what they're doing, have fun with Bing and Yahoo search, because I still think Google's the best in the business. OK. Well, the stock is up $21 today, Scott. So I think the investors are listening to you rather than to me. There's nothing unusual about that. Right, stay there, Scott. I got more for you in a second. I want to go back to Congressman Bill Huizenga. Today is President Trump's 500th day in office. Yeah. He's done a lot. He's achieved a lot. Yep. But the media won't give him credit for anything. And I don't think that's going to change.
No, I'm pretty sure that if Donald Trump tried to declare today Monday, there would be protests in the street. You know, I mean, at some point or another, people have to let go on this a little bit. And look, I've got this back in my own district, a traditionally pretty conservative Republican district. People tell me all the time, look, I don't like what he's saying. I don't like how he's saying it, but I like what he's doing. And I think those results will ultimately help us in making the case for the midterm elections.
I think of Michigan as an industrial state.
Yeah,
and I think that's very true of the state that you represent. But look, you don't like the tariffs. You don't like this whole talk about tariffs, do you? And yet, surely those tariffs, in the long run, these trade negotiations, could help industrial Michigan.
Not necessarily. In fact, I sat down this past week when I was back for our district work week. I sat down with a number of folks. I have the 3 largest office furniture makers in the world, Herman Miller, Hayworth, and Steelcase, 2 public companies, 1 private company. Tremendous number of Tier 1, Tier 2, Tier 3 automotive suppliers as well. Our largest trading partnership in the entire world is Canada. All right. Michigan and Canada is something like 6. And you see tremendous amount of trade that goes back and forth from manufacturing, agriculture, other things like that. And people are very, very concerned about that back home. We use steel and metal and aluminum. We don't typically make a whole lot of it in Michigan. And the question is can you recapture a world that may have just gone by?
But are you convinced that the tariffs that are being talked about and imposed today will still be around even 6 weeks from now? Surely it's a negotiation.
Well, you've
got to have tariffs because you need the leverage that tariffs give you.
Sure, you need the leverage, but you also need to know what is your target, right? And China, I think, is really the commonly accepted target, not our allies in Canada and other places like that.
Well, the president says get a deal that opens up more trade, not less.
Yeah, well, and I think that a deal is to be made there. NAFTA, for example, should be looked at. However, I do think a 5-year sunset on that is a huge mistake because you are not going to have companies making the types of investments that they need to make into the hard infrastructure if it's that short of a window.
Okay, Bill Huizenga.
Yeah. Hey, thank you, Mr. Varney.
You're welcome. Thank you very much, Bill. Good stuff. All right, back to you, Scott Martin. You've been cautious lately. I notice you're on the show regularly. You've turned cautious. You used to be gung-ho for the big techs. Now you've turned cautious. And I read your stuff. You're getting into gold. Let's discuss that first of all. Why on earth are you getting into a dead metal which has no yield whatsoever?
You know me too well, my friend. We've gotten to be, I guess, too close here because you're right. You know, here's the thing. I think the easy money's been made. Now, that doesn't mean, as an investor, you can't make more. But I'm just telling you that this rip upward that we've seen in the market in the last 2-3 years, especially in tech, Stuart, you know those names we've talked about that we still own. Microsoft, Amazon, Apple, Netflix, all those are still great. The reason we added gold is because of what you just talked about with the congressman. You know, we see these trade talks heating up. We see an issue coming up with NAFTA. I see some trouble in the midterm elections, perhaps. I don't see dead people yet like they do in the movie The Sixth Sense, but there are scary things out there that make us say, hey, look, if we have a lot of high energy, high beta names like technology in our portfolio, adding a little gold here helps keep some of the market movements from creeping in too hard to the portfolio because it acts unlike stocks and unlike bonds.
Okay, now you're also getting into energy. You think oil prices are going to go back up again? Is that why you're doing that?
Yeah, so we started adding AMLP, which is an ETF that actually is the pipeline. So it's the transportation and some of the drilling for the gas and the oil. And so to us, that's really important because if you look at all the wells that are out there that are drilled but say aren't producing just yet, thousands of them, and then the fact that we have a pretty tough supply situation here with all the pipelines being filled here in the U.S. with a lot of supply that we can drag out. I really like the pipelines here, Stuart. So AMLP is an ETF that we've owned for some time now, a few weeks in our client portfolios. It's got great dividends, about 9%, tracks a little bit with the price of crude, but has that nice dividend on it, and it's 1099 income as well instead of K1, so it's got a nice distribution rate.
AMLP yields 10%. Did you say that?
Just about 9, yeah.
Just about 9. I'm marking that down.
Not bad.
Yeah, I mean, 9% for a guy of my age looks pretty good, gotta say. Scott Martin, you're all right. Thanks for joining us, sir. I'll keep reading your
You as
stuff.
well.
Okay. All right.